Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I'm going to be critiquing a few advertisements that I've seen in life and found online. Advertisements are everywhere. We find them driving to work, when we get to work, we see them when we're streaming online. They're everywhere. You can't avoid them, and even if you try to avoid them, you still find them. So, the first ad we're going to look at has to do with femininity. 14-hour wives and 8-hour men need gold dust washing power. Okay, so wives work 14 hours a day about cleaning, cooking, doing the housework. They never really go outside the house. And whereas back in the old days, men worked 8 hours a day to provide for that family. So females never really went to school or went to work. They were stay at home to clean. And so what this washing power was to enable them to get through work as early as their husbands, saves time, strength, and patience and money. And so they had time to do those other things. And so when we look at the representation of a female, we're representing as we are fit, we are skinny, we have the parts of our bodies that men like, we cook, we clean, we're supposed to be that way, but not all women are that way. And so, and this represents, once again, goes back to women need to cook, need to clean, need to be that stay-at-home person. And it can be a negative impact on our lives, our daily lives when we see these, and on society. And it can be even detrimental to society because it just shows that we need to be that stay-at-home wife that cooks and cleans, and it kind of puts it in men's head and other people's head that we need to be that way, even though society has changed, time has changed, we're no longer that way. This image to me is not necessarily unhealthy, but it's kind of offensive to me just because I'm a person that works 3 jobs and go to school. Like I'm busy all the time. I work for my own money. If I want to go do something, I work for it. Someone else isn't paying me to do something. I'm not sitting home cooking, cleaning, and and fixing that house up for someone else or being a stay-at-home mom. And so it's kind of offensive and doesn't help the society that we're in now, with men thinking that that's all we need to do. We need to start going to school and working like we are doing. The next ad has to do with masculinity. And so this image is an ad of a cologne company, The Brooding. And to me, it portrays that men have to use this cologne and be fit and have the right hairstyle and have those abs to attract a nice female that has everything that men is looking for. And so it goes back to what are the representatives of masculinity? Fit, abs, muscles, they work, they they have to have those parts that we like, and I feel like that's the representative of men. And they also aren't emotional, and as you can tell in the ad, he's showing no emotion at all, whereas she is. And so this ad particularly portrays in a negative way because it's making men who may not look that way, it's making men that don't look that way look really bad. It also makes it seem like that they need to lose weight or go to the gym to look like that to attract the women, when not necessarily you don't need to do that. And so it's a very negative representation on society. And so this can be detrimental even to society because it's like I said, showing the men that they need to fix the way they act so they can get the women that everyone wants people to be with, everyone wants to see. And so this image, to me, it's not necessarily offensive, but it's very unhealthy because to me, it doesn't make men feel very good about themselves. Granted, I'm a female, but if it was the other way around, it would be that way for me. And so this is like a very unhealthy image to me. The next one is transgender. And so with transgender, you kind of see them in between the masculinity and feminine. They might have characters and representations of both femininity and masculinity. Sometimes they don't. Maybe they're all masculinity. Sometimes they're all feminine. It all just depends on you looking at them. And as life is going on, it's even changing. Every day it's something different, or it looks different to each one of these. And so this is a ad from IKEA for a dining room table in 1994. And what it is this gay married couple is looking at a dining room table for their house. And it kind of bounces back and forth between their relationship and the table. And it kind of shows that they have a good relationship. They're happy together. And people don't see them any different. They don't treat them any different. And nowadays you're looking at people who treat them different or see them different, or they're scared to come out of their house because they might be attacked. And so this representation is kind of, I mean, it was probably a positive impact back when it came out, just because back then you didn't see it all the time. But I feel like now it's kind of like a neutral representation, because you're seeing that LGBTQI community all the time. And it's this one can actually kind of be beneficial to society. Shows people that, I mean, those couples can be happy and do normal lives. And so I don't see this image as unhealthy or offensive at all. Even the video, it's a really good video. It kind of, the where it bounces back and forth makes it really hard to follow and determine if they're talking about the table or if they're talking about their relationship. Do a little bit of a reflection on advertisements and gender. So these are just a few questions that I'm going to be talking about. So the first one is, how do you think mediated images to understand your personal identity? So personal identity has here lately been very popular. Everyone's kind of worried about what they look like to others and even what they look like to themselves. And we aren't what we used to be back then. I mean, where most of us are overweight, we don't look like that picture that you see in ads. We are very different. And so they link to our personal identity, the images do, but they don't always play a positive impact on our identity, nor a negative. It all just depends on the image and where you're at. And so the next question is what are the dangers of unrealistic images found in media? To me, most ads and images that I find on the internet are fake, or I feel like are fake. And in our lesson, it talks about that most images that we find online are fake. They've taken a picture of someone and then photoshopped it and edited, or even combined one or two pictures. And so the pictures really out there aren't real. And it makes it hard because we look at those and we compare ourselves to them and we look at our personal identity to them. But in reality, they're fake images. They were never going to be that way. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. So it kind of it plays a bad factor in us, and it can be really dangerous because that could cause more mental issues in many people. How are these representations gendered? And so it's in today's world where we now, it's not male female, you have those that are not claiming themselves as a gender, and so it's really hard to say, yeah, this is femininity or masculine, because they they may be neither one, even though they may look one way or they look the other way. So it's very hard to represent the gendered. And so next question, do they challenge or reinforce gender norms? So gender norms are what each gender kind of like normally does, how we're looked like. And I feel like these advertisements kind of they challenge, but then yet they reinforce the gender norms, because back in the old days women was that way. We were to cook and clean and provide for the husband, and the husband was to go out and work. But now anymore it could go either way. And so they challenge the gender norms. When we look at the masculinity picture with the cologne, I feel like that one, it challenges it because some of us, either one of our gender norms are different, but it can also reinforce them. I mean, a lot of us want that fit body, but now anymore, gender norms is we'll never look that way. Okay, we will always be who we are, but it's the way we all look in at the advertisements and how we portray it. Looking at the last image, do you feel powerless to resist these images that relentlessly target our society and daily lives? I do kind of feel powerless to resist these images because, like I said at the beginning, these images are everywhere. They're on our drive to work, they're on our TV at home, they're ads on our phone, our social media, they're everywhere. We cannot get away from them. Even if on your TV show you pay to not have ads, you still will have those ads pop up on your social media, on your phone, in your daily life. And so it's hard to resist them. And they're they're not great ads. They make life in society look very different, and it's hard to compare ourselves to it. Ads will always be there. We'll never avoid them, and I feel like they will just continuously get worse as we go on. And so we have to kind of retrain our brains and relook at those gender norms to really determine what we are in our personal identity also. So things are changing, and I still think things in the future are changing. And these are just two examples. One's from an older way, the other one is kind of old, but not really. And then the other one is kind of a fairly new one ad that kind of showed an example of each one of them that I was able to critique.